Welcome. Thank you for tuning in to Raw Historian. Today, I'm going to tell you a story and put it into perspective as to just how hard it is to survive in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. While your everyday worries may be bills and unstable Wi-Fi, just remember, you could be in the middle of the Congo. My name is Miriam, and I am not supposed to be alive. I was born in the dark heart of the Congo, not the kind you see on postcards with lush rainforests and smiling children. No, mine was the real Congo, the unforgiving Congo, the one they don't tell you about in school, where the night carries gunfire and the morning might not come. I wasn't given a birth certificate. There was no hospital. My mother bled into the dirt floor of a shack while the wind howled through the trees like the spirits knew what was coming. She named me Miriam after her own mother, the only name she knew to pass down. And then, just like that, she was gone. They say I never cried, not once. Maybe it was instinct, maybe it was survival. Because crying in the jungle gets you noticed, and being noticed, that's how you die. The first memory. My earliest memory isn't a toy, or a song, or a warm embrace. It's blood. I remember stepping outside barefoot at maybe 4 years old. The sky was thick with smoke from fires that hadn't stopped for weeks. Our village had been raided the night before. Not by soldiers, not by rebels, but by men who wore no uniform, who served no flag, who took what they wanted and left nothing behind. There was a boy I used to play with. His name was Kazi. He was older than me, always laughing. That day, I found him face down in the mud, his laughter stolen by something sharp and cruel. I didn't scream. I just stared. That was the first time I understood that the world doesn't care about children in the Congo. I knew how to hide in silence for 6 hours while gunmen passed. I knew that sometimes the safest place to sleep was not in your own home, but under the floorboards of the church, if the church hadn't already been burned down. You who are watching this video, you wouldn't last a single day, not a single one, not with your clean water, your electric lights, your beds with mattresses and pillows. You have not heard the sound of a machete dragging through wet leaves at 3 a.m. or seen the moonlight glint off the blade. But I have, and I still dream about it. Part 2. A lesson in survival. We didn't have school in my village, not after the war reached us. You learn quickly in Congo that education doesn't come from books. It comes from staying alive. My teacher was silence. My classroom was the jungle. And every test I passed meant I'd survive another night. When I was 8, I saw my first execution. There had been accusations that a man had stolen from one of the militia groups. I didn't know him. I don't even remember his name. But I remember his eyes. They dragged him into the village square and made us all watch. He didn't scream. He didn't beg. He just stared, straight ahead, until the gun went off. We were told it was justice. But even at that age, I knew it was a message, a warning. And I understood it perfectly. Step out of line, and you vanish. You, watching this, you would have run. Or maybe screamed. You would have tried to stop them. And then you'd be the next body they dragged out the following day. Because this isn't a place for heroes. The price of silence. There were men in uniforms, men in rags, and men who wore both like skins. No one could tell the difference between soldier and warlord. That was the point. Militias were everywhere. You couldn't walk 2 kilometers without seeing men with rifles who answered to no one but their own bloodlust. When they came, They came fast, on trucks or by foot, screaming in Lingala or Swahili, firing into the air to scatter the chickens and the people. They would steal food, take women, beat the men, and then they would vanish like shadows in the mist. One of them once looked me in the eyes. I was 9. He had a cigarette in his mouth and blood on his hands. He smiled, a lazy, toothless grin, and said something in French I didn't understand. Then he walked on. I didn't breathe for a full minute. Do you know what that kind of fear feels like? When your body refuses to move. When your soul is screaming at your feet to run, but your legs won't listen. That kind of fear changes something in you. It turns you into a ghost, even while you're still breathing. A fire in the trees. The jungle burns silently at first. The leaves curl. The monkeys vanish. The birds stop singing. Then comes the crackle, then the roar, then the screaming. One night the horizon turned orange. I thought it was the sunset, until I saw the trees catch fire one by one, as if they were being touched by some invisible hand of death. It wasn't nature. It was men with gas and torches. Our entire village lit up in flames within 20 minutes. People ran in every direction, some into the fire, some into the jungle, some nowhere at all. I grabbed my little brother by the wrist. His name was Kalonji. He was 5. He had a runny nose and cheeks always smudged with dirt. But his eyes, they were clear, honest. He was the only good thing in my world. We ran into the bush with no shoes, no food, and no destination. We ran for hours, maybe days. I don't know. Time doesn't work the same when you're running for your life. We found a refugee camp, or what was left of it. It was hidden near Lake Tanganyika, a half-built UN station meant for 200 people, now holding over 1,000. They gave us a tarp, a bowl, and 1 cup of rice per day. Kalonji cried the first night, not because he was hungry, he was used to that, but because of the screams. There were always screams, children crying for mothers that never came, men howling from wounds that would never heal, women rocking back and forth with empty stares. No one talked about what they'd seen. We all knew. We all had the same look in our eyes. That hollow, glassy stare of people who've seen too much and said too little. One night, a group of rebels tried to break through the camp fence. They weren't after food. They were after people. Young girls, boys, anyone they could take. UN soldiers fired back, but it wasn't enough. Gunfire erupted, bullets flew, we hit the ground. I covered Kalonji's body with mine. He sobbed into my shoulder, whispering, "I don't want to die." I didn't answer, because I didn't know what to say. What hunger does to the mind. You think you've been hungry before. You haven't. Not Congo hungry, not your stomach is gnawing itself from the inside hungry, not you'd eat bark and dirt just to feel something hungry. In the camp, food ran out for a week. People turned to anything. Rats, 3 roots, soap. I watched a woman eat her own shoe, and I understood her. Kalonji's ribs looked like broken bird wings. I gave him my food. I lied and said I'd already eaten. I smiled while my own vision blurred from dizziness. You wouldn't last a day, because you'd complain the rice wasn't hot. You'd cry because your stomach hurt, but we didn't cry. We couldn't afford the tears. Disease has no mercy. When cholera came, it came in silence. 1 child vomited in the morning. By sundown, 10 were dead. No medicine, no doctors, just long lines of bodies being dragged out each day. Kalonji started coughing one night. It was wet, violent. He clutched his chest like something inside was trying to claw out. I prayed to a God I wasn't sure believed in me anymore. I begged the aid workers. They gave me a packet of oral rehydration salts. That was all they had. I held him in my arms and whispered, "Stay with me. Don't go where Mama went, please." He opened his eyes once, just once, and said, "Mimi, I'm cold." Then he stopped breathing. I screamed until I had no voice left. And then I dug the hole myself. The day I stopped being human. After Kalonji died, something in me broke. Not like a twig, like a tree being ripped from the roots. I didn't speak for weeks, didn't eat, didn't cry. I just stared. People came and went. The camp moved. Rebels passed by. And I just kept surviving. That's the thing no one tells you about Congo. It's not about living. It's about enduring. You stop being a person. You become something else. A creature of instinct. A ghost in your own body. Just trying to stay invisible long enough to see another sunrise. Would you still want to come here? You, in your house with clean water and internet. You, who thinks you know what hardship is. You don't. This place, this jungle, eats people. And the world turns its back. They talk about diamonds and cobalt and oil, but not about us. Not about the bones that litter the roads. Not about the silence that follows every massacre. Not about the children buried with no names. Part 3. The Ghost That Walks. I don't remember the exact day I left the camp, only that I didn't want to die there. Not where Kalonji had been buried in a shallow grave with 20 others. Not with the stench of rot and the eyes of starving people clawing through me like vultures. I walked north, alone. No food, no shoes, just the bones in my body and the weight of everything I'd lost. I followed the river, hoping I might find another town, or at least another soul who hadn't turned to shadow. But the Congo has a way of reminding you it owns you. 3 days in, I saw a truck on the road. Men with guns, no uniforms. They spotted me. I didn't run. I was too tired. I thought maybe they'd shoot me. I almost hoped they would, but they didn't. One of them stepped out, smiled, said, "Where are you going, little bird?" I said nothing. He tilted his head. Not afraid. I was past fear. He told me to get in the back. There were other girls there. Young, broken, silent, some with blood between their legs. Some with fresh bruises. All of them looking anywhere but at each other. That's when I realized what I'd stepped into. I wasn't a person anymore. I was cargo. Ash the trade. You hear stories in the West about human trafficking. You picture shady men in dark rooms, organized crime, smuggling rings, cartels. But in Congo, it's not that clean. In Congo, the trade is open, casual, like buying bread at the market. Girls disappear every day. And no one blinks. We were taken to a mining camp, somewhere deep in the forest. No signs, no names, just endless noise of metal slamming into stone, day and night. The men there weren't just Congolese. There were Chinese engineers, Arab traders, even Europeans in suits who pretended not to see. They all knew what we were. We were passed around, sometimes sold, sometimes gifted to keep the workers motivated. I lost count of how many nights I bled, of how many times I begged whatever God existed to just stop my heart in my sleep. You think you're strong? You wouldn't last an hour. Escape. It was an accident, really. A fire broke out in the camp kitchen. gasoline, flames, smoke everywhere. In the chaos, I ran, barefoot, through brambles, past men coughing in the dark, into the jungle. I didn't look back. I didn't breathe until I reached a dry stream bed and collapsed face first into the mud. I stayed there all night, alone again, but free. Free? What does that even mean in Congo? Reinvention. Eventually, I made it to a border town near Rwanda. There were aid workers there, journalists, men with cameras and questions. One of them asked if I'd tell my story. I said no. What was the point? They'd write their article, win their award, go home to wine and warm beds. And I'd still be here. I didn't need pity. I needed to be forgotten. But life is cruel in how it refuses to let us disappear. One woman, a nurse from Uganda, took me in. She gave me a cot, a meal, medicine. She asked my name. I told her Miriam. She held my hand. It was the first time anyone had done that in years. I cried for 12 hours straight. The Congo doesn't let you go. Even now, years later, I can still hear it. The screaming, the gunshots, the low buzz of flies over the bodies that never got buried. I see faces in my dreams. Kalonjis, Mamas, Kazis, and others. Too many others. Sometimes I wonder if I'm alive, or if I died back in that camp and I'm just haunting my own story. If you came here, the person watching this video, you couldn't handle it. You wouldn't last a day in Congo. You'd flinch at the smell of burning flesh. You'd gag at the latrines. You'd cry at the sound of a child coughing blood. You'd beg to go home after the first night, after the first body, after the first time you realise the world doesn't care about this place. You'd say, someone should do something. And then you'd leave. But I didn't get to leave. I was born here, and this place carved its name into my bones. And yet, I'm still here. I'm not telling you this for sympathy. I'm telling you this because it's true, because someone has to remember, because the world keeps pretending we don't exist. But we do, and we bleed, and we scream, and we survive, even if just barely. When you turn off this video, you'll go back to your world, with your lights, your bed, your safety. You'll forget my name. You'll forget my voice. But maybe, just maybe, the next time you hear Congo on the news, you won't just think of diamonds, or war, or tragedy. You'll think of a little girl who never cried, a brother who didn't survive, a world you wouldn't last a day in, but one I never escaped, and never will. This is Raw Historian. If you enjoyed, please make sure to like and subscribe for more history content. Thank you.